All right. Once again, my name is Hanna Atiase. Thank you so much for joining. Today, I want to talk about buying new construction or off-plan properties with escrow disbursements. This is so important. And as a matter of fact, I know a lot of times in Ghana when people are purchasing properties, whether you're here living in Ghana or you're a diaspora, you're living overseas, a lot of times you send money directly to the seller. And we've run into situations where funds have been sent directly to the seller. And unfortunately, seller or the builder developer, and unfortunately, they haven't completed the project or they haven't been able to complete the project on time. So it got me thinking for a way to help clients mitigate their risk as much as possible. And so that's why at Ewell's Realty and Consultancy, we introduced escrow disbursements. This is our way of saying, hey, to the clients, we want to make sure that your investment is as safe as possible. So this is the ideal way to help safeguard your hard-earned funds. Next slide, please. So when we talk about off-plan in Ghana, it means that the construction has not yet started. So we want to look at several things. Number one, if you want to purchase a property that's being marketed, you see the 3D renderings or architectural drawings, and the project has not yet started, that is what we consider an off-plan property. And that's where escrow disbursements can be used as well. Another situation where you can use an escrow disbursement is when you have land and you want to contract somebody to build for you. So you want to engage the services of a builder. You can also use escrow disbursements. The question is, well, why don't I just wait until the property is completed before I go ahead and start sending funds? You can purchase a completed project or property. However, typically off-plan properties have a lower price points, anywhere from 10 to 20%. When the developer is starting the project, a lot of times there are promotional offers, early bird specials, and that sort of thing. And if you look at the construction timelines in Ghana for projects, typically 18, 24, even up to 30, 36 months. So from the time that you start investing in that property to the completion of the property, you'll realize that it has actually appreciated in value. So it's also a good investment for those who are savvy investors. You want to come in at a discounted price, and by the time it's completed, you actually have equity in your property. So who should consider using off-plan? First-time home buyers. Very important if you're looking for lower entry prices and flexible payment terms. A lot of times with off-plan, you are given 24 months, 30 months, 36 months. Can you go on mute, please, whoever that is? Let me just mute you here. So a lot of times you want to make sure that you are having the payment terms. Maybe you don't want to take out a mortgage, you don't want to pay interest or anything like that. You just want to spread your payments. So that's why people choose off plan. Somebody else who would like, we can't see the slide part. Henry, can you scroll down a bit? 1 second. Yeah, make it a little bit smaller. All right, perfect. And so first-time home buyers, diaspora investors who are looking to build generational wealth through real estate as well. So all this is very important. Next slide, please. Good evening, good morning to those of you who joined. I'll be taking questions shortly. So let's talk about the off-plan buying journey so you understand the process. There is a home buying process in Ghana, and it's so important for you to understand the steps, the process, to ensure that you are not a victim of real estate fraud. So the first thing is you want to identify your budget and your preference. And then you want to work with a professional broker. Make sure that your real estate broker is licensed. They started issuing licenses last year. That's the Real Estate Agency Council, that is the regulator. And so that is my license number there. You can always verify through Real Estate Agency Council, which is under the Ministry of Works and Housing, to find out if that broker you are working with is licensed or not. Henry, please make the slide a little bit smaller so I could see the rest of the points. So you want to make sure you're working with a professional. If you're not working with a professional and it gets to the point where you close a transaction, what happens is that we are required to submit transaction reports. And then the Lands Commission and Real Estate Agency Council are working together. And as they're working together, if the client tries to register the documents at the Lands Commission and they realize that the transaction number is not that of a licensed real estate broker, the transaction will be considered null and void. So you want to make sure you are working with a real estate professional. The next step is to ensure that you select your property, review the floor plans, the location, and also the developer credentials. At Ewells Realty, we do have a compliance division, and we ensure that there is a checklist that the developers have to meet. The checklist is, a letter of undertaking, a financial statement, their business registration documents, their previous track record. So we have a list, and then of course the title documents to make sure that they actually own the land that you'll be investing in. And then, we invite you to do your due diligence. We have a legal team, several legal teams on standby that can help you do your due diligence and validate the ownership. Okay. And, a lot of people just check at Lands Commission, and if that check's okay, they move forward. We encourage you to check in at least 7 different places. Some of those places include Lands Commission, zoning, make sure it's zoned residential, commercial, whatever you need it for. Make sure that high courts is checked out to make sure there are no pending litigations. You want to make sure you check with any liens, encumbrances on the property, etc. So these are all areas that we ensure that due diligence is done on every property. And then we encourage property inspection. We work with home inspectors here to ensure quality build and to also make sure, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about how we work with home inspectors during the escrow disbursements. So you want to make sure that the home inspector is going out to the property periodically and making sure that the property is being built well. And then at that point, you pay a deposit only after all the due diligence is being done, and then you sign an SPA, which is the sales and purchase agreement. Number 7, complete financing. You want to make sure if you are going through payment installments that the financing is done, or you could use mortgages. Now we're getting very, very creative with mortgages. They even have shell mortgages. That means that at 90% of the property where you just have the shell, you can get a mortgage out of that point. If you are local and you have a pension fund, which is similar to a 401k, at that point, you can use your pension fund as a guarantee to be able to take out the property. So to be able to take out a mortgage. So what that means is instead of putting the typical 20% down, there will be a lien on your pension for the 20%. So the mortgager will actually take out 100% financing on your behalf on that mortgage. Okay. So you only have to you don't put anything down. It is a lien. At the time that you complete paying the 20%, then that lien is taken off of your pension fund. Okay. And then handover and transfer. We do the handover check with you to ensure that the property is given to you in good condition. And then there is the transfer of deed. So the lawyer will prepare a deed of assignment to make sure that your vested interest is captured. And then number 9, register at Lands Commission. Please, 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 people always forget this part. Once they get the deed of assignment, they get excited. Woohoo, I've got a property. You've got to make sure you do the next steps, which is to go to Lands Commission and have your interest recorded at Lands Commission. It's very, very important. There are incidences that have happened. We're talking about mitigating your risk as much as possible. If you are empowered with knowledge, you make good decisions and you manage your risk. There's been situations where people have not had their interest recorded in Lands Commission. And unfortunately, the seller, builder, developer would end up going to the bank to take out a mortgage on a property you've already purchased. Because when the bank runs the search, it is still in that builder, seller, developer's name. People have lost properties like that. So please, please make sure you have your documents registered at Lands Commission. In other parts of the world, it's recorded in the courthouse, okay? And then finally, you receive your title document, number 10. You receive your title document, which means that you actually obtain your official title certificate, which is confirming your ownership. Next slide, please. Now let's get into it. How escrow accounts protect your investment. Next slide, please. All right, please jot down all your questions. Now, escrow account is simply a third-party account, okay, where your funds are held in that third-party account. In this case, it is held by a legal entity. It's the same as a title company or a law firm in the United States that holds the funds in escrow. It's never sent directly to the seller, okay? So because the funds are held in escrow, they can be kept there until construction milestones have been verified, all right? And there's also to ensure that there is peace of mind on both ends. The seller is aware that the funds are in the escrow account. The buyer knows the funds are there. They haven't been sent to the seller before due diligence, and they haven't been sent to the seller entirely, especially if you want to do an outright payment until certain milestones have been reached. So as I mentioned, comprehensive checks are done at Lands Commission, and there is also a transparent disbursement that's tied to the construction progress. So you get monthly account statements of funds that have been dispersed. You get video progress reports, construction updates as well. And if you are dispersing based on various milestones, if that milestone has not been met, you don't have to disperse those funds, which is a great thing, because if you do an outright payment, the money can be mismanaged, as we have seen in the past. Next slide, please. Next slide. I think this is a bit stuck. All right, so let's talk about how funds are released during construction, okay, escrow disbursements. So typically what happens is that either 20 or 25%. So this is if you are either purchasing an off-plan property or you have land and you want a builder to build. So typically 20 to 25% is dispersed to mobilize the work until they build the foundation. Now you can engage our home inspector that will go out, assess the foundation, make sure that it has been built well. Once the inspector does that, they send their inspection report in, and then you, the client, sign a disbursement document. You have your conversation with the inspector, everything is okay. You sign and you approve for the next disbursement. The next disbursement would be the structural frame to be completed, and then so on, the roofing and windows, and then the interior finishes, and then the final handover. So it's sort of almost like an even exchange. You get the deed of assignment, you do the handover of the keys, and then the final disbursement is released. So notice how funds are being dispersed according to construction milestones. Okay, next slide. Now, these are some of the critical documents you want to review before committing to any off-plan purchase or to your build, okay? The sales and purchase agreement, that is outlining all the specifications and the disbursement conditions as well. Number two, the land title and ownership documents. You want to make sure, once again, I cannot emphasize this enough. You want to make sure that the 7, 8 places have been checked to verify proof of ownership. The building permits and approvals. Number 4, architecture plans and specifications. And 5, very important, the escrow agreement. When are we going to see these disbursements? Okay. Know that, if you don't understand the documents, I highly encourage you to make sure that you are using a legal entity. I always encourage every real estate transaction should have a professional real estate broker, a legal entity, a home inspector, and also a valuer to make sure that you are getting value for your money. I mean, even if the property is already completed and it's an older property, you want to make sure that the home inspector does his inspections. We've had situations where clients were interested in purchasing, home inspector went out there, and one situation, he came back and said that the roof was so bad it would have caved in 12 months. If you can imagine injecting funds into a property only for the roof to cave in 12 months. So you want to make sure that you are engaging these professionals. Okay, next slide. Some of the things to look at is you want to assess the developer's credibility and avoid common mistakes. Okay, so you want to make sure they have completed projects. You want to go out there, assess it. And we request letters verifying financial capital and a letter of undertaking, just saying that, they are going to be intentional about completing the project. But what I find is you can do all these checks, but the key thing is to make sure that you are dispersing according to various milestones. And again, that is why I started Escrow in 2022, because of a situation with a developer that was unable to complete a project after we had done all the checks. And so we cannot manage how people manage or mismanage funds or inventory or construction timelines. However, I found that escrow disbursements are the best way to ensure that our clients are safeguarding their investment. And then you want to check the legal standing, verify the business registration and license. Also want to check and make sure that they are part of an association like GRETA, the Ghana Real Estate Developers Association. So there's some sort of accountable body if anything goes wrong. Common mistakes the buyers make that you want to certainly avoid is skipping the due diligence. Please do it. Even if it takes 3, 4, 6 weeks, it is better to take your time and to do things well and to pay that upfront fee for due diligence than to pay years in court. Time, monies, legal fees, and you may never even recover the property. Okay, and paying without escrow, I definitely do not encourage this. We have some clients who don't want to use the escrow because they want to avoid costs. Well, we just simply make you sign a escrow waiver saying that I'm fully aware that you offer the escrow disbursement, but I choose not to use it. All right, and now in terms of developer credibility, I guess we can't see the screen, but success stories. You could definitely find out from other buyers, read the reviews, that sort of thing. And then you want to make sure that, they have quality standards as well. Next slide. All right, let's talk about your rights, your obligations, and managing remote investment risk. I hope everybody can still see it. So your right is to receive the property as specified in the sales and purchase agreement. Make sure that everything that was stated in there you do receive. If it's going to be fully fitted with a microwave, washing machine, those sort of things, you want to make sure that you receive that refrigerator, AC units, etc. It is your right to receive regular construction progress updates, and to also be able to access the site for inspections. The home inspector should be able to, of course, schedule and be able to go on site and do the inspections. Refund if the developer breaches the contract, that should be stated in the sales and purchase agreement. And there should be a legal recourse for delays or defects. Defects, you want to make sure, it's accounted for in the SPA, especially warranty, builder's warranty, how they handle structural defects and that sort of thing. And as a buyer, your obligation is to make payments according to schedule, to respond to developer communications promptly, and to complete the financing arrangements on time as well. Even if funds are going to escrow, you want to make sure that they are being placed in the escrow account according to the specific timelines. Conduct final inspection within agreed time frame. If the property is completed, you want to make sure you schedule a final inspection as soon as possible, and then accept the handover when the property meets the specifications. As well, if you are not in the country, you can definitely have a representative that could definitely assist with that. Next slide. All right, your action checklist. Making confident off-plan decisions. Define what your investment goals are, right? Why are you buying this? Is this just a residential property? Is it a vacation property? Is it for rental income? Is it for long-term appreciation? Are you purchasing in emerging markets? So you want to make sure that it aligns with your financial plan. Research the location and market. That's why you use a real estate broker. We understand the market analysis, the property trends. We know major developments that are coming in that area that will cause a rental demand or a property demand as well. And vet the developer thoroughly. Make sure that they are in good legal standing and you visited their projects as well. And as I said, engage professional support, licensed brokers, right? Experienced lawyers, valuers, home inspectors. Don't cut corners because of professional fees. It really is not worth it. 70% of court cases in Ghana are land related, so that should tell you the importance of using escrow. Review all documents carefully. Use the escrow for all payments. Monitor construction progress. Some developers have a YouTube channel you can go to, you can review, you can visit the site periodically. You engage EWALS as a broker. We can actually go there, do video tours for you with your property, and also give you construction reports, and also ensure that you're receiving that on a monthly basis from the developer. And one thing I would say is please, please, please plan for contingencies. If they say it's going to be complete in 6 months, add another 6 to 12 months to that. But you've got to look at it as patient capital, right? And you got to have a buffer for potential delays and that sort of thing, so that you are, if you've invested in a project and you want to start making returns immediately, you got to consider the fact that it may not be immediate because of construction delays. Okay, so then you plan accordingly for that. All right, so ready to start your off-plan journey? Well, we have a perfect development for that. We have a beautiful development in Adenta Amamfro, which is about 20 minutes from East Legon. It's an upcoming area. So you're looking at capital appreciation in that area. These are 3-bedroom, 2.5-bath homes, spacious living area. They've got the modern kitchen, private rooftop with a terrace with a sink, built-in barbecue area, and a small powder room as well. So you have to go all the way from the top floor, go down, that sort of thing. And what I love about this particular project, it has customizable backyards. So you can either have greenery with benches there, or you can have a pit and some beautiful garden area. It's entirely up to you, but they are various customizable backyard options for you as well. This property is going for a cool $175,000 with a $3,000 reservation fee. And know that they are structured inspection phases. All right. So what that means is that escrow disbursements are released in those phases, those stages that I explained earlier. Next slide. I'm going to be taking questions in the next 2 minutes. So as you can see, this is the property in Adenta Amafro. It is 3 levels. So you have the first level, which is the living room area, the kitchen area, beautiful open floor plan. And then the next level, you have the primary room and the other 2 rooms as well. And then you have the rooftop terrace and the customizable backyards. I'm a big fan of greenery, so there's a lot of greenery in this development. And so there are only 4 townhomes, semi-detached townhomes in this community. It's a 2-car parking area. And as you can see, just incredibly beautiful. The project kicks off February. And so this will probably be one of the first projects to experience escrow disbursement in phases with home inspectors. The developers are Ewells Homes in conjunction with Boma Properties. So there are the various floor plans as well. So if you're interested in purchasing this unit, please make sure you call the number on the screen. So I am available to take any questions that you have. If you can please put your questions in the chat, or if you raise your hand, I'll be able to answer all the questions you have. Thank you so much for your time, everybody. Any questions? Don't worry, I love questions. I love taking questions. So please, please feel free to ask all the questions you have. Okay, well, I will wait 1 more minute for any questions. Okay, which option typically sells faster, land or residential development? That really depends. It really depends on location. Location is very key. Right now, you have lands that are selling very quickly in the central region, around the Gomwa central area. I mean, East Legon Hills, land there is selling quicker, faster than residential development. But, you know, in prime areas, you have airport, cantonments, Osu, you have studios, 1-beds that are selling faster than land. And that may be because land in those areas, you know, are upwards of $1 million. So it's just easier to buy off-plan apartments in those areas. So it really depends on the location. Great question. Can escrow be used in securing off-plan apartments? Absolutely. Yes, they can. What happens is, you know, we have escrow agreements with the developers. And so when they get to your particular unit, then funds are dispersed in that way. So it is also a very good way to ensure that your unit is being completed, because funds are being dispersed according to the disbursement conditions. What I would say is that we have some developers, builders, who are very okay with escrow disbursements, and you have some that are not. then you have to make a decision if that's a risk that you're willing to take or not. Right now, in fact, we have a client that we help purchase land using our legal team, and now they have a builder that is building on that land, and they're using the escrow disbursement with the home inspector. So it really depends on the individual. Good question. Does mortgage apply to off-plan purchases? That's a great question. So typically, the mortgage aspect comes in after the property is completed. So if you're using escrow disbursements, then you wouldn't be taking out a mortgage. So typically, the mortgage comes in at the shell state or the completed state. So if you want to be paying using the escrow account during the off-plan phase, and then when it's completed, you can then take out a mortgage on that property just so that you can get your funds back. Are they payment plans for the addendum Manfro? Yes, they are. They are payment plans, payment installments. You can choose to spread the payment over the project. It's just 4 units. So it's going to take about 14 to 18 months to complete. So yes, you can spread the payments over the 18 months. Will a recording be made available later, please? Absolutely. Any other questions? Okay. All right. I don't want to keep you up very late because it's almost 1 a.m. here. It's 12:39. Thank you so much for joining the webinar. We have more webinars coming up because the goal is to educate as many people as possible so you can become informed buyers and hence confident buyers and mitigate your risk as much as possible. We do have an upcoming webinar. The next one is on February 3rd. The one after that is February 5th. Actually, February 3rd, February 4th, and February 5th. So please make sure you register on eventbrite.com so we can have your email and then we can ensure that we are sending you the various links. We're going to be talking about everything from Airbnb arbitrage to land banking to how to spot investment areas in Ghana, from emerging markets to prime areas. We're going to be talking about a vast range of things and even talking about joint ventures and how you can make the highest and best use of maybe land you've inherited or land you're sitting on for so long and don't know what to do with it, land redevelopment. We're also going to be talking about the hospitality space. There are hotels for sale in Ghana, hotels for management agreements as well. So there are a lot of topics that we will be covering this year. The entire eWealth team and Z3 Ghana, we are going to be doing a lot of webinars this year. Do you offer one-on-one meetings? I do. If you please visit our website at ewealthconsult.com, you can book a meeting with me on the calendar. I've been land banking for some years and wanted to know if this is something you provide. Yes, we do provide that at eWealth Realty. Does the building inspection come at an extra cost? Absolutely. And the cost depends on how many times the inspector has to do the site inspections. For example, the client that we're working with that is building a property, he's currently, or him and his wife are currently in the US, and they have extra services. So typically the inspector will go out there to verify the various milestones. However, in their case, they want the inspector to go out there every week. So there's an additional cost for the inspector to go out there every week if you want. It's entirely up to you. But otherwise, the standard is for the inspector to go out there and inspect at every milestone before the next disbursement. So just to clarify, they are broker fees charged by eWealth Realty. They are inspector fees charged by the inspection company, and they are legal fees. We do have a fee sheet, okay? So the fee sheet will be sent out to you with a settlement statement, which will outline all the fees associated with the real estate transaction, even taxes, utilities, anything that, because you don't want to inherit anybody's debt. And these are all checks that the lawyer will do on your behalf. We had a client, and this goes for rentals as well. We had a client who wanted to rent a property. We did all the legal checks just to find out that the previous owner had an ECG bill of over 20,000 CDs. So if our client had moved in without verifying that electricity bill, can you imagine trying to explain to one of these ECG task force that, hey, I just moved in here today. I don't know about that 20,000 CD bill. I don't think they would want to hear that. They're just, as they say, cut it off, right? So you want to make sure that you're allowing the legal entities to do all the thorough checks, and you just have your peace of mind and move into your property without any worries. And then we do have homeowners insurance. There is flood insurance as well. So all this is available to ensure that your investment is protected. Okay, everybody. Thank you so much for your time. Once again, the next webinar is February 3rd. That will be a little bit earlier in the day. So I look forward to seeing everybody again. And if you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to email us at info. Oh, thank you very much, Andrew, for the round of applause. I appreciate it. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to email us at info@ewellsconsult.com. And you can also visit our website to see all the listings that we currently have. Make sure you're checking in with us. We do have some great investor deals. We do have some distressed properties. We also have bank foreclosures. Somebody will be doing a webinar on bank foreclosures and how to purchase bank foreclosures in Ghana. So we are all about education, information. So please don't hesitate to reach out. And if you want to have a one-on-one with me, please go to the website and book that through my calendar. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. And also, the Homeowner Show is every Saturday at 6 p.m. GMT. You can catch that on YouTube, Facebook, Metro TV, and DSTV 277. We have an incredible guest this Saturday. He builds affordable housing, and he has built over 1,500 properties for Ghanaians. All right. Thank you all so much. Have a lovely evening. Thank you. Good night. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you.